El Guapo Comics coming to you from my YouTube live draw stream. El Guapo Comics drawing stuff. It changes every day, the name. And today, I have the distinct privilege of having at Rabid, Comics with us.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. Thanks
Good.
again for having me.
Yeah, no, fantastic. It's great to have you. And tonight we're going to be doing two things. Number one, of course, I'm live drawing, and number two, we're going to be talking Quickstrike. All right, and we're going to be doing that with at Rabid Comics. Now, I'm calling him at Rabid Comics. I don't know if he wants to divulge his government name, but it seems that I get at least for now, we'll just go with at Rabid Comics.
Yeah, Rabid Comics is fine. You can drop the ad.
All right, Rabid Comics. All right, so how you doing, man? How's it going?
Good. How's your day been?
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. So you had a busy day today, and getting stuff done. And it's funny. All right, so I've been streaming, and it's one of those things where you're trying to find your niche and how you want to stream and stuff like that. Trying to figure out because everyone's got to have their own personality. So
Right.
I was talking to a good friend of mine, E. Ortiz at Colorblind Colorist, Colorblind Comics. He and we were just kind of bantering back and forth, and he said, "Man, that show that you did tonight, last night with with Cold was great." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, man, that was a lot of fun." And then the night before, I had another guest on, and he said, "I think you're kind of falling into a niche here." And really, it was, yeah, man. You go on there, you draw these pictures, you have people on to talk about their books, you talk about your books, and just kind of get some exposure out there, And I was like, you know what? Let's go with this. Let's see where this takes us. Okay. So I put out a call to people who wanted to possibly join me and be one of my quote unquote official guests. And Rabid Comics stepped right up to the plate and said, "I'd love to be on your show, El Guapo." And
Yeah, I jumped on it.
yeah, absolutely. And of course, I said, "Of course, man. I want you to be on my show because you know what? It's all about comics, and that's what I do." All right, so listen, El Guapo here, Cesar Feliciano, 25-year independent comics creator. Geez, man, what are we talking about here? 1991, I've been doing comics or so, and it's been a lot of ups, but mostly downs, but then ups, as it is in the independent comic industry. And we didn't have Kickstarter or Indiegogo or any of this stuff back when I was coming up. And who knows, things might have been different. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I'm just glad to have Rabid Comics here with me tonight. Now, before I get started with what we're doing here, I want to just take a moment to mention my campaign here, Chango the Broken Veil. Now, Chango the Broken Veil, let me see if I can refresh this, see where we're at. All right, look at that, $505. I'm at 9% now. That's pretty cool. But hey, guess what? We need to bump that up a little bit higher, all right? I'm trying to get to my goal. And with 48 days left, don't make me scared, guys. Don't make me I don't like sweating, all right? I don't like sweating, so let's not make El Guapo sweat, all right? Anyway, without further ado, what I want to do is I do want to play my campaign video, so let's go ahead and do that.
Ruben is plagued by the ability to see demonic entities since the age of 6. Now, as a teenager, he looks to be rid of this burden once and for all. But is it a curse or something more? broken veil.
That was intense.
Woo, I get the chills every time I see that, man. Every
Yeah.
time I see that. And so, listen, if you have been thinking about it, haven't done it yet, haven't heard about it, Chango the Broken Veil is live currently now on Indiegogo. Do yourself a favor, do me a favor, back it. I've got some great perks here. I got the $10 PDF perk. As you can see, as I'm scrolling down, you get to see some of the art. I got a $25 double-sized 56-page graphic novel part 1 comic. All right. And then at the $35 level, I've got the comic and a print. And then at the $50 level now, guys, this is an incredible deal here. At $50, okay, you get the comic. And then I draw your personal demon for you. You tell me what it is, your hang up, whatever that thing is, and I will draw a demon based on that. That's an incredible deal, guys. You don't realize I sell my commissions for quite a lot of money. All right, so that's a great deal. And then the next tier, we're looking at $50, which includes a comic and your own personalized horror story written by Ben Goldsmith, the co-creator and writer on Chango. And then next, we're going to go to the demon art, postcard, print, and comic for $75. That's quite a bundle right there, folks. Don't get it twisted. That is quite a bundle. And then we're going to go down to this another level here. Now, hey, listen, did you want to be immortalized in a comic book? You can get immortalized in Chango, the Broken Veil. $100 gets you the graphic novel, and I draw you into the comic. And I will give you your page number, name will be listed in the book as well. How crazy is that for just $100? And then, of course, we have the whole enchilada. Not only do you get the comic, the print, the draw your demon, your personal horror story, you also get drawn into the book, all for $150. That is an insane deal. So don't miss out. Make sure you get on that tip right there. All right, now I'm going to go over here. We're going to look at Quickstrike, because tonight I'm drawing one of the characters from Quickstrike. So let my esteemed friend Rabid Comics give you all a little rundown on what he's got going on here on his campaign. And then throughout the next hour or so, we'll kind of get into questions, that sort of thing. So give us a quick overview, if you would, please.
Okay, so my campaign is going to focus on our main character, which is Max Armada. His name, that's his real name. So his code name is Quickstrike. He's a government agent. So he's a superhero, kind of like Captain America. He works for a top secret government agency, and he let me see if I can get my screen share too. Yeah, let me share that. Did that pop up?
Yep.
Okay. So he works as a government agent. He works for a top secret government agency, and they send him on missions that are like that he has to go investigate some kind of strange phenomenon. So kind of like X-Files. So he sent on missions kind of like Mulder and Scully were sent on something that's kind of strange. They would have to investigate. A lot of times his missions are to like capture or I don't know, detain something strange. So like I always use the example, like if there's like a Sasquatch or something like that, a Bigfoot sighting, they would send in Quickstrike to see if, to validate that, and if there is one, to capture him. His ability is so he has enhanced strength. He's not like the Hulk level or anything like that, but he's probably more like a ground level superhero, so more like a Captain America level strength, endurance, agility, that kind of things. But his main power that sets him differently is that he has faster than sound reflexes, so he's able to dodge bullets, punches. So he's very, very fast. That's why they codenamed him Quickstrike. And in this particular issue, Now it's not an origin story, so it doesn't go into the backstory of who Max Armada is, how he became Quickstrike. Instead, I made this book specifically to introduce two characters, two superheroes, which is the Quickstrike and the Cat. So Quickstrike is sent from his agency to apprehend a vigilante known as the Cat, which is this other fellow. So Quickstrike's the one in the gray here, and then the Cat is the cat-looking one. And the Cat is a vigilante, so he's on a mission. He's tracking down the head of a crime syndicate. So Quickstrike kind of shows up in regular comic book fashion at the wrong time, bad timing for the Cat. He's about to make his move, and Quickstrike drops in on him. And of course, they get into a fight. And I'm not going to spoil the rest of the comic, but typical hero fight. And it's going to show off all their abilities, their basic storyline. So you'll be able to see the type of mission that Quickstrike's generally sent on, and you'll get the kind of a story of where the Cat is headed to, where his story with the crime syndicate, and a little bit of that story too. So the basic premise of this comic is to introduce two characters and kind of be a launching pad for two separate titles. My plan is after, if Quickstrike is successful, the next thing I would go and do is I want to do a giant-sized origin story, like a 48-page origin story of how Quickstrike came to be, and then continue the series from there. Right now I have 50 issues, so a whole first volume of Quickstrike comics all plotted out. Only maybe one or two are actually scripted, but I have a whole plan for it. I have an idea for a couple of Cat comics as well, so that would also launch simultaneously.
Okay. Now I see you have a video at the top. Did you want to play that for us?
Well, it's kind of short. Just goes over the same thing I just basically said. I don't I don't have to repeat it. There's a little bit of an audio issue too, because when I uploaded it, I use YouTube's. You know how YouTube has like that royalty-free music.
Yeah.
And it's it needs a little bit of a leveling. So it's a little bit of an audio battle going on.
All right. Well, if you need music, music created for you, I have several musicians that are in my family, and my son actually produced the track for my Chango video.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah. So very talented. So if you need something cool, they could put something together for you.
Be awesome.
All right.
I do have a couple of pages up. So this is the cover. Right now, that's the one color. The comic book right now is going to be black and white. I personally, the reason for that, a couple of reasons, is one, majority time, because I'm doing the comic myself, writing, drawing, inking, everything, shipping, managing the campaign. And coloring is very time consuming for me. That's not one of my main areas of focus. And because of that, also, I don't think I'm at the professional level where I think colors can make or break a comic. So I feel like I wouldn't make an attempt to try to color something and it not turn out good, like to ruin the product. So one of my stretch goals is actually to have the comic book professionally level colored. So that's one of the stretch goals. But black and white right now also saves on printing costs as well. Plus, I always wanted to use screen tones and stuff, and I think it adds kind of a cool manga feel to it. So there's a couple of pages here. They're not in order, any particular order. These three though are. This one right here with the introduction. That is the first page though. So this is going to be the first opening image from the comic book to introduce Max. So he's taking the missions on like a shuttle all over the world, wherever he's needed. He's handled by Quincy Clark, so he's a special agent that works for that agency that Max works for, and so it's basically him and Max. So and Quincy Clark, Agent Quincy Clark, he's very I would say rough around the edges. He's kind of very point blank type of character. He's kind of very need to know, which aggravates Max Lot. So since he's his handler, he mostly gets all his missions and any kind of information through Quincy. And since he keeps to himself mostly, it's throughout the series, it kind of follows their relationship and Max's relationship with the agency in general. So here's an opening image of him putting on his helmet, and then I wanted to add a cool action scene in there because I didn't want everything to be so static. So a little bit showing off some of Quickstrike's moves here. The text and everything like that I just put together. Not to say I'm not going to use it, but I just wanted to put something up to to show what some of the pages with dialogue would look like. So here's some of the action shots and some of the screen tones. Now the artwork's not final. I may go in there and retouch some things because as artists we're never really satisfied with anything that we do.
Right.
Yeah. The really cool thing though is that the sound effects I got to since I use I was doing it's all digital now, but since I use Clip Studio Paint, okay. I just hand letter everything and it turns out really cool. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, man. Nice. All right. So how many pages did here, let me just go back because this is the draw live stream, so I want people to actually see me drawing. So how many pages is the first issue altogether?
So this issue is right now it's 24 pages. I have 24 pages, okay. All thumbnailed. 16 of the pages I actually have inked. The rest of them the rest of them mostly pencil, and some of them I still need to do. So it's still a work in progress. The book is by no means completed yet.
Right.
That's something that I'm working on throughout the campaign.
Okay.
But I do have a stretch goal to add 4 more pages to it because I definitely want to add more action to the book. So with an action comic book like this, it's very easy to add in more fight scenes and more action stuff.
Right.
That's one of my stretch goals. So right now it's 24, not including covers, because covers it would add another 4 pages. Front cover, back cover, inside, and back inside. I never really count those as pages, but 24 of actual page material of comic book material. Nice.
Okay. Great. Mm-hmm. All right. So all right, guys. So you hear that? That's a little bit of a rundown on Quickstrike, and I'll definitely be asking some questions here. Let me go over to see if there's anyone in the chat at all. See if there's anyone bouncing around there, taking a look at what the heck's going on. Let me just pop in there real quick and see if we got anyone in there taking a look at what the heck. No, we're not doing that, Caesar. Okay. All right, so I got Shinobi Raccoon is in here. He says, I'm the only schmuck in chat right now, strange. And then Lady Celtic comes in with a howdy do. Shinobi back again. Hi, Lady Celtic. So, all right. So we got 2 people in the chat right now. We got 4 watching. Okay. So, guys, I see you gave us a thumbs up. That's awesome. Let's get a share in there. You know what? Let's get people in on this. I want people to hear about Quickstrike. I want people to just learn a little bit more about the character. And what the heck, man? I want more people to watch me draw. Why not, right? It's always fun to watch somebody draw. All right, so I went ahead and tweeted that out. All right, let's get some shares in there, people. All right, let's get some shares in there and have people ask some questions. Ask some question of Rabid. Let me see. Okay. Shinobi says he shared the link. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. All right. Okay. So I guess what I decided to do here is the cat guy. I'm doing the cat guy tonight. That's what I'm doing.
You are? All right.
Cat guy. All right. So the cat guy. All right. Mm-hmm. Give me a little bit of what's the deal with the cat guy? He's a vigilante. Okay. So that's going to be how Quickstrike's gonna get into this. But what's his deal, man? What's the deal with this guy?
Sure. So this character was actually created by a buddy of mine. So Quickstrike was my creation. The cat was his creation. So the guy who got me into comics, his name is Nate. You can actually look him up on Instagram if you like. His Instagram is NJJ Studios. And he created the cat. It was his first comic book that he ever worked on. And it was really my first introduction to independently made comic books. So it's kind of like an homage thing, and kind of full circle that my first comic book that I'm trying to make includes his comic book that helped influence me to make comic books.
Right.
So his story, I know he got reworked a couple of times, and so his basic outline that we've made, and this may change because again, this isn't technically my property, right? But I do have permission to use them. But I know his backstory that we've talked about, as far as Nate and I have discussed, is, and again, he may make it. My friend Nate, he may take this and run with it and start his own comic book with the cat. He did give me permission to do a couple of issues of the cat, which I've written. But his basic storyline is that so he became the cat. I think he got it through some kind of mutation. So he's able to change, kind of like a Bruce Banner thing.
Mm-hmm.
He can change from the cat to his regular self. And so what happened is he becomes a superhero, right? He gets these powers. He wants to be a superhero. So the first thing he decides to do as a superhero is to fight organized crime, right? So what he does is he's out looking for crime and decides to take on like the mafia. Okay, so he decides to take on the mafia, and when he finally tracks these guys down, right? In the mafia's story is that there's two main big mafia families. The first mafia family, the most powerful one, basically goes to war with the second one, right? They're fighting over territory or whatever it is that mafias fight over. And so there's this big fight, right? Big gun battle and everything. And the cat decides to get involved, right? There's this little girl who is basically outside of it, right? She's in a dangerous position. And the cat decides that he's going to save her. He's like, okay, little girl, we're going to put you somewhere safe. But he can't like take her and leave her somewhere. So what he does is there's like a parked car on the street. And he puts the little girl in the car and says, look, you just stay in here. Stay quiet, stay low, and I'll come get you when this is all over, right? He closes the door. He leaves to go fight the mafia, and the car explodes, right? It was like a car bomb for the mafia. But he didn't know that. So he incidentally had just killed this girl, but now his guilt, he kind of projects it onto the mafia, right? Because it's the mafia's fault that she got involved whatsoever, right? So he goes in there, he's real mad, kind of goes total beast mode, and he's fighting these guys. The place starts coming down. He finds like the main mafia leader, and he's like, "You killed her, you killed that girl." And he's like, "What are you talking about? I didn't kill no girl." And he's like, "There was a girl in the car, exploded out front." He's like, "That's my car. Why would I put a bomb in my car? That's not my fault that this girl died. It's your fault, right?" So the cat can't come to terms with it. And as the building is falling down, he reaches out and he scratches this guy's face, right? He scratches the main mafia guy's face. And it leaves him like permanently scarred. And they never get to finish the fight, right? Because the whole building comes down. The cat kind of gets stuck underneath the rubble. He has to change or whatever and gets out of there. And the mafia guy goes his own way. That's kind of where the story for Quickstrike kind of picks up, is that the cat feels like he has unfinished business with this mafia. He feels like if he takes down the mafia now, he's kind of like forgiven basically for the death of this girl, right? Because he feels like the outcome was that he ended up clearing it all up. So he has a lot of internal conflict for the cat.
Right.
Now the cat's abilities, obviously he's very he has heightened senses. He has heightened agility, heightened stamina. Like a lot of regular cat things. He also has the ability to do like these bio blasts, like these regular energy blasts that we see in a lot of comic book characters. The thing is, he doesn't know how to control it because he just got these powers. They're still kind of new to him. So like when he's like emotional or something like that, sometimes he'll charge up an energy blast, even though he didn't want to, right? So sometimes it'll just happen based on his emotion or something like that. It's not something that he can control.
Right. Okay.
Yet. So that's kind of where Quickstrike finds him too. So where the comic book picks up is the cat's still trying to get used to it. That's where he's hunting the mafia still, and got into the the story with Quickstrike.
Okay. All right. That's great. Yeah. So it seems like that's a compelling guy. So all right. So I can imagine that the first initial meeting of Quickstrike and and uh, Cat is
Mhm.
going to be a big quote unquote misunderstanding. I'm going
Right.
to all right, which is kind of neat. You always want to have like that, that kind of tension even between two protagonists initially, because that does build some suspense. So that great. That's a good thing there. And all right, so during these missions that he goes out on, all right. I mean, you said that he's meeting like maybe he's going to investigate sightings of Sasquatch or things like that. So is there going to be kind of like an intergenre type thing where one day it could be looking for Sasquatch, the other one it could be abductions,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. Is that kind those kind of tropes that you're playing with?
Yep. So the Quickstrike is sent on all kinds of dangerous missions. One of the stories I had him do, and now where the story is, where the world is right now is in the Quickstrike Cat universe. It's like the world of technology is like rapidly increasing. So technology is going crazy advanced, right? We're not at the point where of flying cars yet, but right where the story of Quickstrike takes place, the comics take place, is basically robots are kind of like a normal thing. We're starting to see them more and more, kind of like iRobot. How like there's robots who are doing like menial tasks and stuff like that. They working in warehouses and things like that. So you see, so it's kind of like where RoboCop is. That's where the influence of RoboCop is. Like that's where the technology of the world is. They have like that type of robotics and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also doing a lot of like genetic manipulations and things like that. Like how right now we have like CRISPR. Have you heard about that? Where people are like alternating their DNA and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay, so like take that, but like make it more advanced. So I would say take our world in like maybe 200 years from now. So
Oh,
about
okay.
200 years. I'm not giving it a specific year. Like in Quickstrike, I never say it's like at 2200 AD or anything like that.
Right.
That never comes up. I always wanted to make it more ambiguous, is what year it is.
Okay.
That way I can avoid doing like current event comics. I want to avoid that altogether.
Right.
Whether there's who's president or who's not president, or what's going on with laws and stuff, or terrorism or anything like that. I just kind of want to not have to deal with any of it. So if somebody's like, well, did this happen in the comic? It's like, well, this is in the future. So those are not topics that are you brought up or whatever. So I sort of was trying to avoid all that.
Okay. All right. I can feel that. All right.
Yeah.
So I can see. So you're thinking about possibly like blending these different like there in your future there'll be some things that we may recognize as our current present type of,
Yeah.
okay.
So it's our modern world, but with more technology.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. All right. So let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the impetus for this? What's you're sitting around one day, you're saying, I like comics, I always like comics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, because obviously you had to grow up reading comics if you're willing to write and draw one. So
Yeah.
so explain to me how the whole idea of creating this comic came about.
Yeah. So I originally created Quickstrike. I think he was one of my first, if not definitely top 10 comic book characters that I created myself. His story, his powers, and everything have changed. His history has changed over the times. I think I created him probably when I was in like 7th grade, I want to say. So quite some time ago. Let me think. Yeah, and then what happened is Yeah, I got heavily influenced into like manga and anime, like Dragon Ball Z, things like that. So Cowboy Bebop and anime stuff. So a lot of my Street Fighter, a lot of my stuff started gearing more towards manga and anime influenced. So
Yeah.
I kind of put the superhero stuff to the side. So throughout, I created Quickstrike back in 7th and 8th grade. I was working on them and drawing them and all, coming up with stuff and stories and villains. But then as soon as I hit high school, it was all anime and manga for me for years. And so I put it to the side. But, you never have an idea. It's always cooking in the back of your mind. And then when I started getting back into comics, and my artistic abilities had been improving from drawing all the time, and I decided to pick it up again. And that's when I started talking to my buddy about what would be a good idea. If I make a quick strike comic, and he was all for it. And then the idea of his character fighting my character, I thought was the coolest thing. So I wanted to use it as an opportunity. Like I said, it kind of goes full circle, but also an opportunity for a launching pad for not only my comic book character, but his. So I thought that would be a good idea. And that's kind of where I am now.
All right, that's cool. That's fantastic. All right, so as far as an artist, you say that you waited and you felt that your artistic abilities improved and that sort of thing. So, what were some of your inspirations for
uh-huh.
your?
For my art, my biggest influencers, probably my biggest influencer is Joe Mad.
Okay.
So a lot of Joe Mad, because when I started getting back into comics, it was like the Joe Mad era of X-Men and stuff. So I started reading that. Cause remember, I was into manga and anime, so to see comic books, which was my first love, have this manga kind of feel to it was like the perfect. It hit me at the perfect time. It was kind of like getting back into comics, and this guy's drawing comics that look like manga. So it's a really cool amalgam of things that I love. Then I was really into Claudio Castellini. Not many people know who he is, but
Great artist.
yeah.
Did he do geez, what's that teen group that he did? Didn't he draw that teen group for Marvel Comics where the kids were the children of villains? The Runaways.
I don't know of
Same
Claudio
guy?
Castellini. Claudio Castellini, he's famous for the Marvel or the DC versus Marvel comics. He did like half of it. I forget. I think Dan Jurgens did the other half of the book. He did Wolverine: The End, if you're familiar with it. He did some Conan the Barbarian. He worked a lot for CrossGen for a while.
Oh yeah.
He's an Italian artist. He just recently did the I think it's called The Man and the Superman.
Uh-huh.
It's a Superman title that it's like 100 pages. It's like huge for DC. He just finished doing that. He hasn't done anything, at least that I know of, in a long time.
So what is it about his stuff? So let's see if we
Mhm.
can pull up something by Claudio Castellini here.
Oh, please do.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do that. So here, pull this page up. All right, and then we're gonna do. And because you know what, this show is about drawing and and art, and I think that it's always good to see what artists that are. There he is. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's go to images here. Let's see a couple of. Oh wow! Look at that. Will you look at that? I'm pulling up a Conan here somewhere. Yeah, that's pretty beast.
Yeah, he's amazing. Look at some of his. He did this one Silver Surfer comic called Artifacts. It's amazing. But he did the covers for some Fantastic Four. Dylan Dog was his creation, I think, in Italy.
Okay. I know Dylan Dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, he's amazing.
He's incredible. His anatomy, that's the guy right there.
Here you go, right here. Yeah, there's that Silver
Yeah.
Surfer.
Yeah, he does an incredible Silver Surfer. His anatomy and everything, it's just fantastic.
Where is it? Right here. Wow, look at that, huh? Jeez.
Yeah.
That Silver Surfer is absolutely killer back there.
Yep.
He is not scared to do the liquid metal, is he?
Yeah, I wish I could do Chrome like that. It's like literally like Ethan Van Sciver's like Chrome level, because those guys are amazingly they're amazing drawing Chrome.
Yeah. I like this. This looks a little bit more organic. Ethan does a nice job, but his does look, it's a little bit more mechanical.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this is very organic looking. Wow, this is beautiful.
Yeah, his the thing I love about Claudio, I mean, I could go on all day about him, but his anatomy is amazing. It's very that 90s style art, and he came from a sculpting background, so his anatomy is definitely on point. But his compositions, like the way he poses his characters, are always really dynamic and full of energy.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I'm glad that you showed that to me. I do remember him, but you sometimes you forget,
For sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
sometimes you forget. It's nice to be reminded about these characters, these great artists.
Yeah.
Especially now there are great artists, but it's like you hardly ever see them. It's like
That's right.
every once in a while you see them. It's not like back in the 80s and 90s, and even I would say even a little bit of the early 2000s, where you know it was the great artists were always, I mean, just you would know who they were, you would follow them, and there's some good ones now doing some good work, but it's not like it used to be. You look at certain comics out there, especially I would say that Marvel is probably guilty of this the most, where they have a lot of artists that are just not ready for prime time, and you can see it, and you're saying something, wow, why are they getting to work on these high profile type characters, and
Right.
and I mean, I have personal friends of mine that are some of these old style artists that aren't working, whether they're pencilers or inkers, and they're not getting that work, and I'm like, holy cow, man, these guys can still draw. They're still great artists. They should be on these books. Can you imagine uh, Claudio Castellini drawing Squirrel Girl? How awesome would that be?
Anything he touches, I think.
Yeah, I mean that book, having him on it, that thing would probably sell 60,000. On a regular basis. And I'm using today's numbers. A 60,000 print per month book is a hot seller. But you get what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
And,
Did you ever play that? Did you ever play that game? Me and my buddies used to do this all the time. But like, what would your ideal, like teams be for specific titles? Did you ever play that? Like, do you have a favorite artist that you're like, oh my god, I would love this guy or this guy to work on this specific title? Do you have like any like dream teams that you wish would work on a specific project?
Yeah, so I would love to see, and it's kind of a weird mix, where there's two artists that I would like to see, and I think that they could either draw or ink each other. All right,
Mm-hmm.
Zafino and Topi working on anything that has to do with Asgard, specifically even Thor, but anything Asgardian. Sergio Topi and I forget what his first name, but I know his last name is Zafino. Those guys, their line work alone is crazy, and they're into all of that drapery and robe and all this other crazy stuff. And I would say to myself, that book would be like a masterpiece. You would have to print it in super prestige format. Do you know the artist that I'm referring to here?
No, but I hope you pull them up.
I am. I'm gonna pull them up right now. All right,
Okay.
so that we can see. Sergio Topi.
Do you use a Surface Pro?
No, I have an XP pen.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to images here. Let's see if we can pull this one up here. What is this? That page is out to lunch apparently. Jeez. All right, here's another one. What the hell? Okay, yeah, these are some of his images. Look at that. I don't know
Wow,
if you,
he does a lot of heavy rendering.
dude, can you imagine just like this Norse mythology with this guy drawing it? That would just that would be crazy. Absolutely crazy. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and let me see if I can follow Zafino Comics. All right. Look at some images, and here's Zafino. Now, Zafino is going to remind you, he's going to remind you a lot of Sean Gordon Murphy because Sean Gordon Murphy absolutely loves this guy. What the heck, man? What the hell are you doing? Jeez.
Google's like, I'll show you all the images that
Yeah,
aren't there anymore.
that aren't there. Look at that.
Oh yeah, I can see that. You know what I see a lot too is oh my god, what's his name? Why am I drawing a blank? Bachelor, Chris Bachelor.
Yeah, yeah, there's some of that in there.
Seeing the eyes, like
Yeah.
the black with the white dots. That's definitely
Yeah.
definitely a Chris thing.
Yeah. So, I do this stuff here, but these are like quick sketches for me.
Mhm.
But when I sit down and do like a hyper detailed page, I like to do all that line work, all that. I'm into that. I can do it. I'm well versed in it. But it's a little bit tough to do that style when you're trying to make comics, So
Yeah.
I typically reserve that stuff to my more illustrated type work,
Hmm.
where you wanna slow down and do all that. Let me see if I can pop up an image here real quick, kind of give you an idea of what it is I'm talking about.
Yeah, myself, like working on comics, like even this comic, most of my well, I started training myself, is what I should say. I started training myself more like an animator, because how animators they try to trim things down to kind of just the basics, so it makes it easier to draw.
Absolutely, yeah,
So that's kind of how that's kind of my style now. Is I try to do as much as I can without making it overcomplicated. So a lot of my stuff isn't very heavily rendered. I know people love that, and if I ever want to like sell pictures, like if I go to Comic Con and do an artist alley thing, I'll do like heavily rendered pieces because I know that attracts a lot of people. Like they love the heavily rendered stuff. Uh, but most of my regular art, if I'm drawing for myself or working on a comic, I'm not gonna spend all that time on all that heavy rendering.
all right. So I don't know if you can see that on my screen. So that's a Thanos that I did, and
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah. So that's like I said, I get pretty crazy with the line work and stuff like that. But I can go to that level, but I choose not to.
Hmm.
you know, um, uh, when I'm doing the stuff digitally like this. Um, so yeah, let me ask you this other question. Um, you're a self-taught artist, correct?
That's right.
All right. Have you ever had an experience of working with um, any other artist, like in a studio, or have you thought about something like that for yourself at all?
Uh, you know what? When I think everybody when they were younger, least me anyways, when I was into comic books, Marvel had the Marvel bullpen, right? And you'd hear stories. I think Joe Mad would give a lot of, because originally, if you know Joe Mad's history, is he was an intern at Marvel, and back when he was like 16 in high school. But he would go to the Marvel bullpen, and all the artists were there working at Marvel. Jim Lee, was there in New York City working at a desk. And he said like what an awesome experience that would be, and it was for him to grow because he would get to ask all these professional artists questions and watch them as they draw and things like that. So I think I had that fantasy for a while, but I don't think I don't see myself working with uh, a writer. Like I would like to work on my own, creator own stuff, and be in total control of the creative process. But as far as someone drawing, like an inker or a colorist, or someone wants to do screen tones, for sure I would love to work with somebody in that regard. But like in a studio setting, uh, I don't know.
Right, right. Well, I say that because
Mhm.
I actually have that kind of background where I did work in a studio, uh,
Uh-huh.
and it was a fantastic experience. Uh, and very much like what you just mentioned. You're kind of bouncing ideas off each other, and you have no choice but to improve, really.
Yeah.
And it teaches you to have kind of like a thicker skin to a certain degree, and also how to learning how to self-critique yourself. So
Hmm.
self-critiquing for an artist is very important tool, because a lot of times when you're drawing an image, especially something that you're trying to get print ready, uh,
Hmm.
the focus tends to usually be, oh, I got to get this done. I got to get this done, right?
Hmm.
So whereas when you're self-critiquing, you're gonna take that step back. Oh shoot, didn't mean to do that. You're gonna take a step back and you're gonna see like, all right, I think this looks good, but let me walk away from it for a minute and take another look and see if there's anything I can change. And so the studio life, or the studio experience, teaches you to do that. Now, you don't necessarily need the studio in order to do that. All right, you can certainly do that yourself. But my experience was that that was a good experience for me. Now,
Hmm.
the digital age being what it is, and people are so busy and stuff these days. Uh, those studios type situations are a little bit harder now. And so what is happening more now is that and I'm a part of a group now. We have a digital studio. Okay,
Hmm.
so we're doing the digital studios. We talk about our projects. Um, we bring up our art and stuff like that, and we kind of just like go back and forth and like, listen, what do you think of this? What can be improved? And I tell you what, when you can get in a situation like that, it really helps to elevate you.
Hmm.
Because there's nothing like having another person's eye on your work, especially someone that really just wants your best interest at heart, because I've gotten portfolio reviews from people, from professionals, that they just wanted to get me out of there, and
Right.
there's nothing worse than that, and so whenever I'm asked to do a portfolio review, the first thing I think about is, well, how do I feel when someone just, yeah, this looks good, kid, keep up the good work. Is that really helping anyone? So I try to really give a good critique, and really go over, how to get better, and that sort of thing. Because, ultimately, I feel that as artists, I have received so much from like comics,
Yep.
and just observing what these great comic artists before me did in their work, and contributed. And so, if there's any kind of anything that I could share with someone that is truly interested in wanting to learn and wanting to get better, I'm going to do that. And so as I say this to you, and I'm also speaking to myself, is the more work that you produce, the more lessons you're going to learn, the better you're going to get. And just never forget to give back, to the community, to give back to comics. I see a lot of selfishness in comics, and that selfishness, it seems to even be bleeding out into the stories. It's bleeding out into the characters, the way they're written, and the way that they're drawn, and that sort of thing. And so my big impetus and desire is to, whenever I'm putting something out and someone's looking at it, I don't want it to look like Erica Henderson. I just banged out this Squirrel Girl in the Squirrel Girl page in 45 minutes. Look, I'm getting paid. All right. So we need to make sure that the product that we produce, and especially if you're crowdfunding it, whether it's on Indiegogo or Kickstarter, because you're not using the same normal channels of going through Dime and trying to find a publisher and this, you're putting this out yourself. So basically you're telling people, oh, this is ready for prime time. I'm just make sure, and like I said, I'm saying this to myself. I tell myself, Caesar, make sure the stuff you're putting out, man, it better be good. It better be tight. Can you improve it? Can you do it better? People are going to look at this, and we want our customers to come back, all right? Because as cool as the story concepts are, if we're not putting a total package together, people aren't going to come back, man. And I want people to come back. I want people to buy all 50 issues of the Quickstrike story that you have. I want people to buy all the characters and stories that I have. Now, I have my own characters. I have my own stories that I'm putting out. And, and then who knows? I may even be asked by someone in this community, hey, man, I got this really cool Indiegogo I want to do. I'm a writer, but I love your art. I want you to do it. Would you be willing to do it? And I'm like, I would be like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. So, but the moment that you say, yes, I'll do it, you're making a commitment. You're saying, I'm not putting out shit. I'm not putting out schlock. I'm putting out the very best that I can. You know what I'm saying? All right, sorry, I went on a little rant there, but I really feel strongly about that.
So you said you got involved in the studio. This is how long ago, or is this something that you're still involved with?
Oh yeah, well, okay. So in the actual physical studio, we're talking about the mid to late '90s, early 2000s. So about a span of about 5 years, and I learned so much, man. Brush inking, how to ink, how to pencil, how to do panel layouts, how to tell a story, how to make things dynamic, how to make them look good, pretty, all these things, and just things that I bring into my work to this day, how to teach yourself, how to make yourself better. And then, like I was saying, I'm part of a group with Good Dog Press, which is the Dog Stars, and that's the digital studio. Now tonight, Manny Ortiz is actually going to be doing a digital bullpen broadcast on YouTube. So so hit him up at Colorblind Colorist, E Ortiz. So if you get a chance, check out that YouTube. But so we just talk about art, and we talk about tools, techniques, things like that. But it's always good to get around other people, especially as an artist, man, because it is really lonely.
Sure.
You're doing pages and you're just kind of banging stuff out, and even though you got kids and stuff like that, you're in your studio for 5-6 hours at a time, and you just want to make sure that you're making the best use of that time that you can.
So who created it? Who created the studio, and how'd you get involved with it?
Okay, so the initial studio that I was with was Steve Warren. He was a fantasy good girl artist back in the 80s. And let me see if I can pull up some of his art because it is really stellar, stellar work. All right, let's see. Steve Warren art. Let's see if I can find some images here. All right, I don't know if you can see that at all, but this is some of the stuff that he was putting out.
And that's all brush.
That's all brush.
It's incredible.
It is incredible. And so that's how I learned. I learned inking with a brush. And so I really cut my teeth as an inker, and then learned how to draw and how to observe my drawing really with Steve. So I owe him a big debt of gratitude with that. He really helped me to sharpen my skills. And I tell you, he he was a master with that. But he did a lot of stuff. He did stuff, gray washes. He was a painter. Like this here is all pencil washes. Just beautiful, beautiful work that he did. See if I got he's got a really he was famous for these. This right here, this image, hopefully it'll pop up.
That's
So
so small.
this image that you see right there, it's kind of small. Let me see if I can increase the size. All right, so this, I know that's not a very good image, but this image was all brush, and then he hand colored it with Dr. Martin's inks, Dr. P.H. Martin inks. And these are inks that you would put like in ballpoint pens. But he had a technique where he would wash them down and be able to paint with them. And if you see, I wish this was a better scan because you're really missing out on some of the beautiful detail. So, so I say all that to just kind of say that when you're working with someone at that level who's willing to give you his time and give you the instruction, man, it's like it's a whole nother experience. And so it's important to put yourself around people like that because it's gonna help you. It's gonna help you big time.
How did you get involved with the Good Dog Press?
So I just by accident, really, to be honest with you, I was just out there and trying to just do my thing, and I don't know, one thing led to another, and someone just kind of I know what it was. I drew a picture of a skunk girl on a stream similar to this, and then Manny from Good Dog Press was told about it, and so he was talking with ERTs, and he saw me streaming and said, "Hey, why don't you come on the stream and let's talk about that squirrel girl I'm sorry, that skunk girl that you drew," and that was it. That was pretty much how it started off.
Cool.
Yeah.
And how long have you been with them?
Not too long. I would probably say maybe a couple of months or so. So I pop in when I can, and do that sort of thing. But when I'm on my own streams, I talk a lot about art. As you can see, we did some of that tonight as well. I know that there's better artists than me out there, but I like to at least share my experiences that I've had,
Right.
and kind of talk about that sort of thing. So and I just like talking about art. I like talking about well, how do you come up with your layout designs? How do you do this, and what inspires you, and that sort of thing. So I'll just do that anyway. So to do
Right.
it with a group of other guys and other artists and creators that at least get what it is I'm talking about, that's fun too.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of especially being comic book artists, like you said, it's a lonely profession, but it's not one that's shared by a lot of people. So even like regular artists, who don't do storytelling or sequential art, it's still very different for them. Like they would still have a very different approach on how they would do an illustration than like a comic book artist would. So
Right.
it's not something that you get to chat about too often, unless you find somebody who also is in the comic book art.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we're getting close to getting this done here. All right. I don't know, am I doing all right with this?
Looks fantastic.
Uh,
Are you a Neil Adams fan, or what? Who inspires you?
Yeah, I want to say that. Yeah, I definitely am a Neil Adams fan. I wouldn't say that I am a Neil Adams clone by any stretch of the imagination. I do like what he does, and in certain parts of this, when I draw things, I can see a little bit of what I like about him in my work at times, but
Mhm.
it's not all the time. I I I try to draw in. I tend to draw in different styles depending on the story that I'm working on. So, for
Mhm.
instance, the Chango story that I'm working on right now, you look at it, it doesn't look like the stuff that I normally do. It actually is kind of Mignola-esque in the dark tones and everything, and that's on purpose because I'm
Mhm.
a big fan of Mignola. I can't draw like him. I can't do that crazy stuff that he does with the high cross contrasting blacks and whites. But I enjoy it. I like it, and so I just thought that, well, I think that would be a good fit for this story that I'm telling. Um,
Uh-huh.
and the nice thing about that is that I don't have to, in a certain sense, worry about too much about the draftsmanship. Even though I'm not saying that Magnola is not a good draftsman because he's fantastic, but with him, so much of his storytelling and art is all design based, composition based. So if you
Mhm.
see what he does when he lays out pages, when he tells his stories, um, the compositions are absolutely beautiful. I mean, it's like a master class in how to tell a story.
Mhm.
Sometimes he uses you know 8 panels to tell the story, 10 panels. Sometimes he just uses one or two. But it's always good and it's always compelling. And so there's so much to learn from that. And so when I was developing the style for what I wanted to use for the Chango story, I would just immersed myself in Mignola stuff. And truth be told, I also, like I enjoy Duncan Fegredo's take on Hellboy art, and he's got a really nice style where it's a blend of Mignola, but it's definitely his own touch, his
Mhm.
own voice that he has there. So yeah, it's really beautiful, and he does a fantastic job with it. So I'm always learning, always trying to get better, always, figuring out, well, what can I take from this artist? What can I take from that artist?
Yeah.
What can I learn? And that's really how you get better. That's how you get a style. That's how you get a technique. And also that is how you make yourself more available for work and gigs when you can deliver different styles to people on different projects that they're having you do for them.
Mhm.
All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and sign that. All right, so we're done. So this is Cat,
The cat. Yep.
the cat, and he's going to be appearing in the Indiegogo comic coming your way from Rabid Comics. And let's take a look at that page again if we can. Where are we here? All right, and we're going to look at Quickstrike one more time. So right now, Rabid Comics is at 235. He's 23% funded on a $1,000 goal. So if you haven't checked it out, do yourself a favor. Check it out. And he's got some neat perks here. All right, for $12 you can get the comic book. For $1 you get, hey, you get a thank you. You can get some neat digital wallpapers for $5. He's got some swag here. He's got some buttons, pinups, some other stuff like, or looks like a print.
Yep.
He's got a $22 deal that gives you 2 comics, all right, which is definitely at a discount. And he's got a really cool Quickstrike shirt there for 52 bucks. And then he is, guys, he's doing original art for 82 bucks. Are you kidding me? You guys got to get on that. This is nice stuff. Look at this.
And also, so each tier above, each one that goes up, it includes the tier below it. So the original art would include like the T-shirt, a comic, all the swag items, the digital wallpaper, and then the last one I have is a special offer. I want to do a special thank you page for anyone who's interested. So as long as the book's in print, as long as this is going to be in circulation, it's going to have your name on it. It's going to have your name in the actual physical comic book for eternity, and you're going to get 2 copies of the book. You're going to get that T-shirt. You're going to get original piece of art from myself, all the swag items, the buttons, stickers, the art print. You're going to get 2 copies of the comic book. I think you already said that, and the digital wallpapers. So that one's comes with, it's basically the whole kit and caboodle right there.
Yeah, awesome. So guys, great deal. As you can see by these pages, he's putting a lot of work into it. You know, it's not color, but I'm telling you, these gray tones and what he's doing with the zipper tone stuff, that stuff's not easy. It takes time. All right, and he's really trying to put together a really neat looking book for you. Like you know, the art is good, and you know, and the story seems cool. And goodness gracious, Rabid Comics, that logo is awesome. I love that. So yeah, so check it out. All right, that's it's $1,000. We got to get this guy funded. He's got 51 days left. Let's go ahead and do that for him. All right, so while we're here, let's take a look at Chango. All right, Chango's at 9%. All right, we're at $505. So let's do El Guapo some good and show him some love. Let's get El Guapo a little bit of funding as well. All right, so once again, I already went through all the tiers with you guys earlier. Here's some of the art. All right, this is some of the completed lettered comic art. You know, as I stated earlier, we're really just, you know, I'm putting forth doing as good a job as I can. Like I said, it's important for me to give the consumers that are buying my book the best quality that I can. All right, so before we sign off, I'm gonna have Rabid Comics let you know how you can get in touch with him. So Rabid, why don't you take it away?
Sure. So I'm on pretty much any social media platform. My branding is all the same. It's all Rabid Comics, one word, Rabid Comics. So you can hit me up on Twitter. Check out Instagram. On Instagram, I post a lot of like sketches and work in progress pieces, stuff like that. And then on Twitter, if you just want to hit me up and chat sometime. Twitter is probably the best way to do that. And then Facebook, I also have a Facebook page, which is mostly just, you know, reposts from Instagram or Twitter, stuff like that. But if you're interested, you can check me out on any of those 3 platforms. And I'm trying to launch my own YouTube channel, so if you want, you know, follow me on YouTube. I'll try to get some kind of cool content like this up. And maybe one day I'll have my own live stream. But yeah, that's what that's where you can find me.
All right, fantastic. Hey guys, I want to thank everyone that jumped on, and I just want to give a quick shout out to E. Ortiz, who stopped in for a couple of minutes to give me a thumbs up. That's my little brother right there. Also, Zaid Comics popped in saying, "Hey, what's up?" So he did make a mention saying that this character looks mean. Yeah, man, snarly. He's ready, man. He's a vigilante cat. He's gonna tear you up. Only to be found for the first time in the pages of Quickstrike. So if you like this character and you want to know a little bit more about him, do yourself a favor and get the comic. Quickstrike. That's where you're going to find them. And that's where you should go. All right. As always, thank you very much. Guys, remember to smash that like button, share. If you haven't subscribed yet, why haven't you? You guys need to subscribe to the El Guapo channel yesterday. Make sure that you look at the links in the description for Quickstrike and also for Chango, the Broken Veil. Once again, I want to thank my guest, Rabid Comics, for the great conversation, for a great job you did explaining his characters. It was awesome. I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's pretty neat. It's a cool project. And obviously, he's a creator that has a lot of passion. And you know what? We need to support creators like that. So without further ado, let me wish everybody that came in a great night. And everybody, God bless. Until the next time, we'll be seeing you. Nighty night.